right,
Hey,
everybody.
hey,
Yes. A 1 2 1 2.
hey, check. Is this thing on? Check.
Is are we on? Are we in? Are we in? We
Oh,
are in.
we are
We are
so on. This is so going down. This is really happening. We studied for so long. We learned about life for so long, and now it's all happening.
Yeah, it is happening, everybody. Welcome to the Great Transition. We are here to let you know that if you feel that the world is going to some new epic place, but it has to go through some weird, strange, scary transformation, then we are here to tell you this is going on. This is what's happening. This is what we're exploring. If you want to go beyond the mundane commentary of who said what and who likes who and who's against who and left versus right and all that stuff, if you want to go beyond that, if you want to take a look at humanity beyond differences of politics, religion, and culture, if you want to see how we're all being pushed together by the laws of nature to a new, higher, better state in human development, that's what we're all about. Welcome to the Great Transition, everybody. I see, Seth, that we already have some people connecting from Bergen, Norway, and Quebec, and Minnesota, and Miami, and India, and the
Wow. Hey,
Netherlands.
Raina.
Yes,
Is it Raina?
yes. From where? What is that?
Raina, I think is our friend from India. Is that who it is?
Yes, you're right.
All
And we
right.
also have Switzerland. Hey, Siegfried. All right, great. So, yeah, um, we would love to see where you're tuning in from. So let us know. Let us know if you haven't told us already. What's up, man? How do you want to start this? We were having a little bit of a debate on how to start today's show. You want to share with our friends here what's on our minds?
The process of how of the approach or the content.
No,
Well,
just
as
the
usual, I wanted to start with something more dramatic and emotional, and you wanted to lay the law. So we just
no.
keep throwing the hot potato back and forth.
All right. Well, Australia's in the house. Brazil's in the house as well. Hey, people.
Australia, wow, nice.
Yes, Utah is here too.
I think we could all learn something from Australia. Here, they've been doing pretty good with this whole thing. Maybe it's because they're so far from everyone.
What is the whole thing, Seth? What's the whole
I
thing?
mean, the virus. I mean,
Oh,
they've been
okay.
doing well with the virus, from what I understand.
Okay, I'm just trying
I
to
don't know how they're
drag
doing with
you.
anything else.
I'm trying to drag you into something bigger, to something
I don't know
greater.
how they're doing spiritually. I'm not sure. Probably not as good because they're disconnected from everyone. But as far as the virus goes, better because they're disconnected from everyone.
All right, man. So look, the I'm just gonna do my opening spiel,
Do your
if
thing.
if you let me. Okay, I'm just gonna go right into it. We um we are indeed in crazy times. We're living in very uncertain times. That's what I would say. That's the main, like the key, the buzzword is uncertainty. That's where we're at. We're at a point where this virus is not going away. You know, in Israel now, they just they there was a headline that said that the head of the intelligence community, the intelligence uh, um, the intelligence community from the IDF is involved in containing the virus because they have all kinds of tools and methods and strategies to assess things and all that. Anyway, they're saying that the British mutation of the virus is there's no point in trying to contain it here in Israel. That's it. It's out there. Either the vaccine, well, they're working very quickly to vaccinate everyone in Israel now, and it's either the vaccine will work on the mutations. There's a couple of them already. Specifically, the British one is concerning to the authorities, but It's either the vaccine will work on it or
That's the
it,
one that we talked about, which is like 50% more contagious or something.
yeah, between 50 to 70% more transmissible, they say. And it's already out there. There's no at first they tried to kind of contain it, to really, like they did in the early days of COVID, when people came from, when COVID was just discovered in a country. So each government would try to contain it, and then they discovered quickly that it cannot be contained, and then they moved to, like, okay, we just have to apply social distancing on everyone and masks and all that, and now vaccines and all that. So anyway, they cannot contain the British mutation of the virus. It's already here, and now it's just a question whether the vaccine will work on it or not. No one's sure. No one knows. No one knows also exactly what the vaccine is doing, meaning it does work, it is efficient, but there are still many questions mark. We talked about this before. The bottom line is we might be going into another kind of cat and mouse kind of situation, where we go like, oh, another mutation, we need another vaccine, we need another mutation, another vaccine, and this, is it working, is it not working? Basically, it's
It's
not
getting
looking
exhausting.
exhausting and uncertain, because you cannot plan for the future when you don't know what's going to happen. We're already, and I'm not talking just about my country, obviously. This applies to all of the countries today. This applies
I'm exhausted listening to you talk
to
about it for
all of
two
the world.
minutes.
Yes, yes, I agree. But I am also enlightened by this situation, Seth. You want me to tell you why?
I
Do you
would
want
love you to tell me
I
why.
will tell you why. I think that the uncertainty that we are in right now as a human family across the world, around this planet, is a necessary and positive phase of human development. Why is that? Because any real growth, any true growth, even if you think about your personal life, if you think about a baby who grows, and develops just their body, learning how to walk, whenever you're going to do something big in life, everything that involves growth, development, evolution, maturation, involves discovery. And the
It's like
flip side,
whenever I do an exercise, I'm always like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this.
because there's no exercise
I
is a
love it
root
when I'm
it
over.
it's a routine. Exercise is a routine. It's not
No,
exactly
no. Actually,
ever.
no, I'm not in a routine now. That's why I'm hating it. I'm trying to get back into it. But what I'm saying is like the beginning, just
Yeah.
like recognizing like, oh,
How does
even though
that have
it's
to do with uncertainty, though? Explain to me. What
oh
do
no,
you what
I was sorry, I was relating it to the emotion of feeling like you're going through something.
Yeah.
There is a reason at the other end, but in the process, the emotion of going through it is like, oh, this is horrible. Oh, this is terrible.
Oh,
I
that's
want to
another
get out of here.
aspect. That's another
I thought
aspect,
that's
though.
what you're saying.
No, I was talking
You were talking. I was just thinking about how much I hate my new
how much you hate
exercise routine. Sorry.
exercising. Yeah, I
I
I
love it when I'm
lost
done.
I lost my exercise routine as
I
well in the
lost mine too.
last almost 2 months already. I have to get back
I
into
haven't
it.
gotten out of this chair in 8 months. I've literally been sitting in this chair for 8 months.
Anyway, if you had to move out of the chair to a new chair, right? That would involve some uncertainty, and then some discovery of how it feels like in this new chair, right? Not a great example, just trying to get back into the topic. So the
Okay.
the point is that whenever you're facing growth, discovery, something new, a true development, a true next advanced, next stage of your evolution, whether you're a baby, whether you're a grown up, or whether you're the whole human
Whether you're middle
family.
aged and you need to exercise,
What?
whether you're middle aged and you're trying to exercise.
Yeah, that too. In any case, it involves a measure of uncertainty. So we need to look at the uncertain times that all of humanity is now going into today as the precursor to a discovery. Now we just need to figure out What is it that we need to discover? What is it that we are facing? What is it that is behind the veil of uncertainty? What is it that is behind the veil of this threatening kind of situation that we're all in? And that's why I'm excited. That's why I'm excited, man. So
Why are
hopefully,
you excited
hopefully,
about it?
I am excited about it. Yeah.
Why are you excited about it?
Mm. Because everything that's happening right now in the world is just a messenger of the next level of development. That's what, if you're stuck at where we are and you're only focused on what's going on right now, then all you can think about is what goes wrong, and what goes right. If you're looking at where are we headed, then you understand that such a major shift that humanity is going through, and such a global level of uncertainty represents and indicates a true global shift that we are now going through. This last year was not, was not something that ever happened before in humanity. We've had plagues, but we were never so connected, so interdependent, as we always say. And I think what's really becoming clear is that every day, this world that we're in is becoming increasingly more interdependent, and it
This
just
is,
takes us a
oh,
long
sorry.
time to recognize it. Yeah, go ahead.
That's really what's so unique about this. I mean, what was it? Mount Vesuvius? Was that the volcano that froze the whole town? Like when they discovered it, there was like, a guy like running, and there was like a Pompeii. Thanks, Chris. Pompeii. There was like like someone cooking, someone holding a baby. Everyone just got like fossilized in place when this volcano like destroyed the whole area. There's been plenty of
Mm-hmm.
horrible things that have happened that wiped out. I mean, if you were, a dinosaur, you could like be, what, you two think your show is bad? You should have been there when we all became extinct. We couldn't breathe, and then there was no food. And you know, there's been plenty of things, but the difference is we changed. We now, you know, whereas previously you needed to eat and have a shelter and whatever. For us, it's like if we don't have some stimulation every 30 seconds, it's like the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's like we changed. That's what's so unique. Yes, it's also true that there's the way that the virus just covered the whole globe. But darkness covered the whole globe when the dinosaurs were extinct, and other bad things happen. I think the most unique thing about this now is a consciousness. There's never been a creature who's been so aware.
I think it's
Uh,
these two things. I think it's these two things combined. These two things, interdependence on the one hand, and the growth, the development of human consciousness on the other hand. And I'm emphasizing these as two separate things.
what's the
These
difference?
these two components, they are the big
I'm,
difference.
I'm not clear about the difference. You said growth on the one hand and
Right.
consciousness
Okay.
development on the other. What's the difference?
Okay, so I know you wanted to tell a story. You want me to tell a story, so I'll tell a story. Okay. So in the past, in thousands and thousands of years ago, okay, when human before the agricultural revolution, when humans were living much more like animals, we were looking for shelter, and we were looking for how to make, we just discovered, let's say, how to make fire. And gradually, we started somewhat, we were dealing with hunting and gathering, things like that. And just gradually we started working with the land, these kind of stages, maybe 15,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago. I don't know how, historians will do better here in the details. But the point is that at that point in time, human beings were very, very mindful of the forces of nature
Mm,
as forces that we are governed by, that we are subject to, forces to be revered and respected and appreciated and fearful of as well. Because if the sun doesn't shine tomorrow, that means a lot, because there's no air conditioner to AC to turn on in your home or something like that. If there's a killer hail and rain and happening, then then it matters a
It's a
lot.
problem.
It matters a lot. And so even as we went into the agricultural revolution and started processing the land, still, how will the crops grow? Will they not grow? Will there be too much wind, not enough wind? Will there be enough food for all of us? Will the land grow everything that it can? We didn't yet
To
have
give
fertilizer
context,
and yeah. Mm-hmm.
so we'll go back. So you're like 15, 20,000 years ago. Even if you go like 100 years ago in this country, I'm sure many countries, I just know about it from the history of this country. There was a time, they called it the Dust Bowl, I guess it was about over 100 years ago, where um, they worked all season to make a crop, and then
Yeah.
some locust or some whatever comes in, or some
Right.
blight comes in and just wipes it out, and that was how you were going to live for the next, however, like, I don't know, year, till the next season. So the only real thing you have to do is pray to God. Or back now, if we go back to
Even
15,000 years ago, back to your story, I just wanted to make it
yeah.
a little more emotional. If we go back then, like, they were really in the hands of these forces, because if the
Yes.
forces didn't cooperate, they had no food, they
The
had
point,
no.
yes, the point is that because we were directly dependent on the forces of nature, the conditions, the environmental natural conditions that are, that we were dependent on them very directly, very closely, very tightly. Our attitude to the natural system was different as well. Now, praying and all kinds of, let's, without going into rituals and customs, meaning how it manifested, what were these were just expressions of the inner attitude that man had to nature. The relationship we had with the forces of nature was one of reverence and respect and fear and awe. Now, it's also because we didn't understand how nature works. We didn't understand any of it, right? So we were very, very dependent on it and so on. Now, why are we telling this story? Because from that point in time to today, we have changed, like you've said. We've grown in our
Let's make a pit stop
consciousness.
for a sec. Let's make
Okay.
a pit stop when once you get
Okay.
to around like Stonehenge, for example, which I guess is, I don't know, 5,000 years. I'm not sure how long ago.
Okay.
Um, so then certain people started to figure it out. Not everybody, but the more noble, the more wealthy, the more whoever, the ones who were studying, figured it out, and then they arranged these things. And if you stand in the middle and there's a certain stone, and they knew when the winter solstice was going to be, when the summer
Mm-hmm.
solstice was going to be. They didn't have social media to get it out, so whoever
Yeah.
knew, he knew when it's time to plant. He knew when it's time to do this.
Right.
Like, so then all of a sudden, so yeah, you could see how human starts to creep, how that could become a little bit corrupted if all of a sudden you're the guy who's got his finger on the, who has his finger on the button or
Right.
the
Right.
control. So all of a sudden you have
The
nature, and now
Yeah.
all of a sudden certain people start to understand how nature works, and
If
those
I
ones start to have a
understand
little.
it and you don't, then I'm at a privileged
And even
perspective.
if it's
Then
not
I can
you to
take
be
advantage of you in some
initially,
way.
yeah, even if it's not malicious initially, you could see
Hmm.
how it could start to become that way if you know when to plant, and you know how the systems start to work, and you're able to start accumulating, or even that you have this knowledge, you become,
Right.
you know
Okay. Fast forward. Fast
now
forward.
we fast forward.
Fast forward
Okay.
thousands of years back to today. You know what? Not today. Back to 2019. Okay, back to 2019. So in the midst of the, or in the beginning, of the 21st century, humanity finds itself in a situation where, we get our food from the supermarket, packaged in plastic. We're very, very far from the land, except for, handful of people who understand how to work with the soil. Even that is delegated to machines, for the most part. But the
I don't
kind of
care if there's no more fish in the ocean. We have a fish farm now. All the fish in my market comes out of a farm now.
right,
We don't even care if there's no fish left in the ocean.
who even knows about the fish farm? What you care about is whether there's fish in the supermarket that you're going to. That's what you care about at the end of the day. So we've got our heating at home. We've got a home with four walls that can withstand rain. We're able to use our technology to desalinate water from the ocean. We were able to make it cooler when it's too hot, to make it warmer when it's too cold. We get our groceries by clicking a few things with our finger, literally swiping a few swipes and a few taps, and you got food coming into your door. So how different is that from that ancient person who lived 20,000 years ago? We've Very different, but let's put the focus on the attitude that has changed, the relationship with the forces of nature that has changed.
Now
So,
nature's working for me.
nature's working for me. Yes, nature is simply this place that I'm in to be used, exploited. Um, Even not exploitive sounds evil. Even not exploited, just like there's stuff on the ground. I need to pick it up and use it however I see fit. So what was lost is the reverence, is the appreciation, the respect, the sensation of dependency, that feeling that there is something greater than me that I am dependent upon. This feeling that just like I depend on mom and dad to feed me as a baby, I depend on the sun and the rain and the wind and the climate and the natural system here and its goodwill, so to speak, to feed me and give me what I need in order to live and survive and thrive. And so that has been completely lost from the taken away from the modern human consciousness. And what grew instead of that is a consciousness that revolves around the self, that revolves around um, we are humans on this planet. We are doing whatever we need to, whatever we want, basically, as long as we can. And I, as an individual, being a member of this human society, I will also try to do as much as I can to fulfill myself in my life as much as I can without getting into trouble, without getting into danger, depending on the laws and the culture that you're living and the conditions that you have, how much money you have, and so on. But the mindset is not, I need to take those surrounding forces into account because I depend on them, but rather I need to make my own life because I'm responsible for myself. And so that's a big change. That's a huge change. 1 year later,
I
you
was
wanna
going to
jump
say
in there?
about 200 years ago, most of this country, 70%, and it's probably the
Mhm.
same in most places, was farmers. So
Right.
even if as much as humanity was developing, it didn't matter how much you developed, like you were still tied to the earth. You
Mm,
could be thinking whatever you wanted to think.
right.
Today we have, like you said, you just click a button, for like $1.99 they can get a slice of pizza. It's like you can find a
Yes.
$1.99 in on the floor somewhere. It's like
Y-
anybody can. You're not dependent on the earth. Nobody is really dependent on the earth at all today. Whereas
Yes.
not so long ago, almost everybody was still tied to it. Even if you started thinking great thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter, or not great, like big thoughts and about whatever you wanted, you still couldn't escape. Your feet were in the earth.
Yeah, shackled to the earth in some way. So it's that's actually interesting. Like the our so to speak freedom from our imaginary freedom from nature, as much as it has grown, you know, in the last 10,000 years, in the last 100 years, it grew even more than all of those thousands of years before that. In the last probably 100 or 150 years, it's insane with the exponential
Yeah.
this exponential curve of technological development. The world is a completely different place than what it was 100 years ago, and that just that 100 years, we've made so much progress that is equivalent to thousands of years, if you think about just the rate of development. Yeah, but the um, going back to today, so that's so we went from, you know, being very dependent on nature to not giving a damn about the forces of nature. It's not something visceral and immediate for us that we need to worry about. We don't have that relationship of dependency on nature in 2019. And then comes 2020. And then comes 2020. And what we're starting to see is that all of a sudden, the world and human society on this planet, which has grown in the last 100 years, unprecedentedly, I don't know how to, what's the word for it? Like, it has grown as interdependent and interconnected as it has ever been. We've never been so connected to each other across the globe in so many ties
Mm-hmm.
of technology and information and the internet and our governments and our economy, which is a completely globalized economy in so many ways, and then, you know, cybersecurity and you know, influence of culture and media. And if you think about, if you would try to map what has happened to this human species in the last 100 years, I if you would visualize that, I imagine it like this intricately, vastly intricate web of, you know, where you can't tell where the thread starts and where it ends. There's so many connections right now. There's so many dependencies. There's so many junctions where that connect everything to everything, that this is unprecedented. This was never the case before. And now, all of a sudden, with that interdependence, with this unprecedented connection globally, all of a sudden we're going into a pandemic. We're going into a situation where there is something that shakes and gradually, bit by bit, shatters, I would say, our way of life. All of a sudden we're going into lockdowns. All of a sudden, a year after 2021, right now, as we're talking, we still don't really know what's going to happen to this economy that we've
No, we
built.
know. I'll tell you.
Oh, no, we don't. Go ahead. Let's
Yeah,
get
we
into
do.
it. Okay.
Regardless
Okay.
of the
Yes.
lies, regardless of all of the lies that
Yeah.
all of the media tells you, everything is closing. We may see bumps. We may see things calm down a bit as they pump a couple $1 trillion into the economy, but we are coming back to nature. And I don't know. I don't think that means that we're gonna all be farmers again, but nature is shutting down this mess that we made. Um, that's what's happening. Um, can open it up, but I mean, it's clear. I don't know. So what are you saying? We don't know what's happening. Of
Okay,
course, we know what's
I'll tell
happening.
you what I mean. The let's first put the question marks where they deserve to be. Okay, so
Okay.
right now
Oh, it's making my
in
head hurt again. Ugh. Just almost kicked the headache, and that just started to come back.
you've had the headache the whole day, man. It's not me.
Ugh, 2 days now. All right,
Two
keep going.
days? Yeah. Ah, right.
Yeah,
You said yesterday. You said you had it as well. Did you take something?
I did.
Yeah, it didn't work, or
Come on. We got
slight
to get to the meat and
improvement.
potatoes here.
Yeah. Well, one of the goals is solving your headache. So
Okay.
I'm just looking at where we're at.
When I was listening to you, I forgot about it, but then when I started talking about
When
the
the economy is a headache. The
oh
economy
yeah,
is a headache, exactly. So that's the point. The right now, in most of the Western countries that have been hit hard by COVID, because our lifestyles, which is intertwined with our economy, uh, all those businesses that all of a sudden were hit very hard because they had to close because of the lockdowns and all that, and social distancing and people not coming, and tourism took a huge hit. All those businesses, uh, and people who run them, there's actually people who need to make a living behind all those businesses, right? In most of the Western countries today, they are on life support, right? I'm not going to get into specifics, but there are measures being taken at every country by every government right now in order to kind of keep things afloat. But what it does mean, is that you don't really know the state of the economy. You don't really know if any of those businesses are going to function as they did before, and at what capacity, and how quickly. And I would go even deeper. That's just the pure economic situation. Then there's also the psychological situation. Humans have changed so much in the last year that I'm not sure that people are even going to want to flock into the same malls and boutiques, and flights, and whatever it is, it is that they were doing the whole time. Things have changed. People have changed as well. So you've got a situation where we it's been too long already to just go back to normal, to just bring up the economy to what it was.
one of our
That
friends put
Yeah,
something about humanity's going through puberty. I saw that earlier in the chats. It's like, it's like if I came to him like, Asaf, you want to play with the Legos? You're like, no, I have things I'm doing. You're like, no, no, let's play with the Legos. You're like, I grew up already. Didn't you see? I'm a man. I'm moved on to bigger and better things.
yeah.
And when I
The
saw the inauguration the other day of President Biden, and I saw the Hollywood the celebrities up there, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I forgot about them. I forgot that was a thing. Like that's still a thing.
Wow, now I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
huh? That is
like all of
no.
these
Well,
like
I don't know if you and I are the example for, knowing what's going on in pop culture. We have to
no,
we
I'm
have to
definitely
say that.
not.
We
I'm
have to
definitely not.
we have to put that disclaimer up there, but still, um look, I don't know what the headlines say. I'm sure that you'll see many people talking about their desire to just go back and go on a trip somewhere, or go back to eat at restaurants that they couldn't eat. I'm not saying that that's it. All of humanity has changed. We've changed. But something is moving. The cogwheels are moving. Our lifestyle was so because the modern lifestyle of the modern human being was so intertwined with materialism. When you have an entire year when you're being forced to live a little differently, your mind becomes free to think differently as well. You know what I mean? So you're we've been given this period of time where the artificial link between materialism and happiness has been unraveled a little bit, and that enables a new psychology to kick in. So I think that millions and millions of people are already a little bit of different people. It doesn't mean that they already have a different goal in life and they don't care about, being convenient in their material life, but something's changing and opening something has been
And
opened
here's
up in
something,
our
here's
psyche. Yeah.
here's something beautiful. Here's something that we're talking about. This is part of this great transition, is that now nature will bring us back to her. And when we talk about nature, we're not talking just like a save the whale, or like everybody should just, have an organic garden in the backyard, although that's nice. We're talking about the force that propels all of life. We're talking about, um, so when we talk about nature, it's not like, everybody should wear Birkenstocks and, and burn sage in their house and have an organic garden. When we talk about nature, we're talking about the forces that developed us for a couple billion years. The forces, the magic, the love, the big picture. So now we're coming back after all of this think about the difference, the emotional difference between
Hmm.
you and your grandma when she was your age. Think about the emotional difference between you and someone who was alive 20,000 years ago. So now we went through all of this emotional, psychological, mental development. And now, after all of that, now we're coming back to nature. But we're not facing nature now as just, I need sun, pray to the sun. I need rain, pray to the rain. But now we're facing nature as if, well, let's open this up more. But
Yeah, no,
that's the magic that's happening now.
I see
All
where you want to go,
basically,
but
let me say it like this. There's
yeah.
a there's a there's a there's a let's just call it some essence inside of a person, okay? And this essence inside of a person gets a body clothed on top of it, a body made of bones and tendons and meat and skin, and right, and it's clothed on top of that source. And then that source moves through time, and the one body dies and another body clothes on it and another one dies, and each time it develops more, it learns more, it has more emotional experiences, it has different relationships, it has different failures, it's trying different things, and as it's moving through the generations and the bodies are changing, it's taking on all of the, and while it's happening for itself, it's happening with all of the other ones, and it's all of these different sources inside of everyone are moving forward. And now all of these things, all of these, it's like props in a show, and like, or like props on a Hollywood set, like, I know you didn't like the Titanic, but I'll give you an interesting fact. They didn't actually take a big ship out into the middle of the ocean and hit an iceberg and sink it. They just made a set somewhere in a shallow area, and they put a piece of a boat in
No
there.
way.
No, no, it's true. All of these things are sets. So all of the things that happen in our life, it's like the set. In order to take this, um, essence and develop it, to get it, in order to develop it, to become conscious of the wonder of what nature is, to feel it as if it's our beloved, not as some abstract, I need sun, I'm praying to the sun. I need rain, I'm praying to the rain, or some, pharaoh, or some, all these other imaginations that we started to build for ourselves as we went through. Now, in a very clear and sober way, we're going to come face to face with the, like the with the wonder of what this source of life is. Like, that's what it means to, like, come back to nature now after all of this development through all of this time. So it's like a full circle back to nature, but after having all of this emotional and psychological and social development.
Well, we're gonna see. Um, there's more to unpack here. The what we've lost, so to speak, or grew out of, um, you know, throughout for thousands of years, we over thousands of years, we've lost that reverence towards the forces of nature.
On purpose.
That's an even deeper aspect. But even before that, the What is happening today? We are beginning to once again be uncertain about what is happening to us, where are we headed, where are we going. That's the uncertainty that we started our conversation with today. That's what's happening. That's why we got into this talk about the economy and COVID and what's going to happen and what's happening to people. What I'm trying to say is huge chasm has been, has been opened up of uncertainty about everything that we thought this world is about: our economics, our lifestyle, our and in turn how governments run people.
Oh,
The
here's a good one.
Yeah.
Um, so we, our I wouldn't call it a philosophy. Our method of life is that that nature developed everybody perfectly. There's every color, every religion, everything fits into the picture together. But how corrupt we made it. There's In nature, you have an electron and a proton. In nature, you have night and day, you have high tide and low tide, you have light and dark. So there's a new law that came out in the United States that boys who feel that they're girls can now be in like girl sports and stuff like that. So it's like the which is I don't know if that like is hitting there. So if you're a boy
Yeah,
and you
there's
feel that
it's a
you're
law that permits transgender women for
right,
example, to participate in women's sports.
right.
So
So
they were so
um,
someone who was born a boy turned into a girl, a man turned into a woman, and now even though physically they're biologically in or initially was born in the body of a man, now they can compete against women,
right. So the
right?
reason I'm bringing it up
Yeah.
is because nature,
Yeah. Why are you bringing it up?
regardless of what we think, we have to have certain we have to first come to share certain fundamental we have to understand what are the laws of nature that are operating, because if we're not even clear what they are, then we don't even know how to. God, I feel like this is going into somewhere political,
No,
which I
I
don't
can
want to
go.
go.
There's tons of
No, no,
things
I want to
I
continue. I
can.
want to continue with. I want to continue with where we're going. But saying is how confused and how much lies are in the media and everything that pull us away from. For example, can we all agree that it would be great if everybody had food and everybody got along and there was no more wars? Like, yeah, like shouldn't we? Can't we all agree on that? But yet, why do we all get up every day and fight against each other? Uh, and there's still tons of people without food and tons of people without shelter. It's like we're not. We just need to we need to stop. I mean, that's exactly what's happening. Everyone needs to stop. We need to become clear about what is what are there is enough food. Like there is. What I'm talking about is coming to be clear about what is nature, coming to be clear about what are the forces operating on us,
Right.
become clear about where are we in this system, be clear about how we can participate with what nature is doing instead of constantly fight. Do you know anybody who's just super happy in their life, who doesn't, do you know anyone who's just like, I don't think I do. If I actually, the people that I think the people that I would say that do, there you could find places where they're just totally not paying attention to the harm that they're causing others. The point is, we need to become super super clear about what are these laws of nature. We didn't know back then. It was abstract. We understood something's coming from the sun, something's coming from a planet, something's coming from somewhere else. Today, it's like, I don't care if there's no more fish. We're gonna put them in a farm over here. I don't care if this is a if there's no difference. That what I'm trying to say here is there's literally a law now that says there's no difference uh, between men and women, for example. Now, I don't want to get into a political thing, but I want to say that there's something like if we can't look at
Okay, here's the
the
thing,
natural
man.
laws.
Here's the thing. We have uh uh only that much time to to keep going on this. Do you want to go deeper into
I don't want to go into this at all.
to
All
the
I wanted to bring
genders,
up
to the
was
gender thing? We can
no, I don't
go
want to
into
go
the
into the
gender
gender
thing. I
thing.
don't
I don't
mind.
want to go into
I
the
have a
gender
bunch of
thing.
thoughts about this.
I don't want to go into it at all. All I wanted to say was people how we are trying to force our own plan onto nature without participating with nature and how futile it is. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, I won't relate to what
I don't
you
even know where that came from.
got
Sorry about that.
into, but I'll just say this. The uncertainty that we're in is indeed pushing us, like you said, to a point where we're going to have to reappreciate, rediscover, rebuild our relationship with the laws of nature. That's what's happening. So we started out human civilization as we started building ourselves based on our dependence from nature. Then we grew out of that and we've evolved into this egoistic mindset, this modern individualistic mindset. It doesn't matter if you're living in a West society or an Eastern society. The modern man today thinks of himself as the center of creation and responsible for your own life and so on. The attitude of dependency towards the forces of nature has been lost. Now we're going into such a vortex with COVID and the interdependence and our shaking economy and the political distrust that we're in and so on and so forth. We're this whole web of interdependencies that human society across the planet is today is going into a turbulence. And in that turbulence, we're going to have something to hold on to. We're going to have to develop a new attitude towards nature. And what I would say is that we I divide it to stages. That's what I would do. I would say the closest stage is the nearest stage of development is that we start being more aware of how of our interdependence, and that this is a law of nature. See what I'm saying? So just like it took a while for people to understand the sun and the rain and so on, now human beings are very close to this newfound understanding, this newfound awareness that, oh, we're all dependent on each other and this natural system that we're in. There is a force and a law of interdependence that's greater than the individual, greater than what we just feel like doing or what we want to do, greater than our differences, greater than you being on the left and me being on the right, you being a black and I'm being white, greater than our culture, greater than our politics. We are bound by nature, and it is a force that is governing everything that's happening to us. Now, the first stage is that it appears in a threatening way. That's how it appears. And it takes a long time for us to recognize it, but it's inevitable. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to discover that we're all connected to each other. You know what I mean? It's threatening at first, as COVID is showing us, and we're gonna see it soon with the economy. I'm pretty sure that's the next big thing that we're gonna see. A huge a huge recognition that we can't go back to what it was, and we need to do something else about it. And then there's going to be a bunch of questions that are going to threaten the way of life that we knew. What is the human being supposed to do all day? What happens if you don't have work for all people? What does that mean about our sense of status and understanding of who we are and what we do in life, and this whole idea and plan that we used to we grew up on, that you grow and you find a profession and then you work and then you make money? And what happens if all of this is shaking and is starting to shatter piece by piece? So this law of interdependence is threatening us. But then, and that's the last thing I want to say, that the
It's
next
threatening
phase.
old us.
What?
It's threatening old us.
Yes, exactly. That's the next piece I was getting at. That the next phase is to discover that if we change how we relate to each other, because of that force of nature, because of that law of nature, not because of anything else. If we start, it's just like understanding gravity. Oh, we can't jump off a building, we'll fall. Oh, we're interdependent, we can't sustain
So in
systems
this,
that are not functioning in an interdependent way. And if we recognize, the moment we start to see that it's all about changing the relationship between us, we can turn everything around. We can turn that law of interdependence into a new engine of prosperity and livelihood and sustenance for everyone, and fulfillment for everyone. But that's going to take an inversion of the mind. You know what I mean? Anyway,
yeah.
the
So previous, very very strong. So previously, we looked at the Nile. We lived in Egypt, and we looked at the Nile, and we saw that this is from here comes our life. From here comes our food.
right.
Today, we start to understand that my life, literally, we didn't understand it before, even though there were certain societies that felt that everything was interconnected, but they didn't have the consciousness of how interconnected we all were, and they didn't have the experience of us all being interconnected. Now we all have the experience of us being interconnected. Look at the show. We have friends here from India and all over the world. Now we understand, just like our life came from the Nile, now we understand that our life, our only good life, will come from the good connections between us. And that when we create the proper connections between,
And it's necessitated by nature. That it's a I know it's hard to. I don't know if we've been very successful at making it super clear, but I think that for people who think a little bit, who can think a little bit, I think they can feel some of this. The It's a force of nature that we have to come to terms with. Our
we see it
interdependence is not. It's not because we created the internet. It's not because we created a globalized economy. That it's the it's the
as a result.
it's a result. Yes, exactly. The cause is that human beings are gradually evolving into a network, just like cells evolved into multicellular organisms and so on. It's a law
And
of nature that we have to come to grips with.
and
Yeah.
what's incredible is that before, when we prayed to the Nile, we ended up with some food. Now, when we make these good connections, we will find so much joy. We will find so much eternal happiness. We will find so much meaning and pleasure in our lives, because at this point we realize we uh, become one with that force of nature that developed us for all of these billions of years into this thing, and we're conscious of it, that life force that gives life to all of reality. For example, in the United States now, of course, we talked about it for weeks, the whole country is torn in half between left and right.
Yeah.
And then this past week in Russia, the same thing. With the protests in the street, and it's like tearing. And then we'll see it spreading to the other countries, just tearing apart. But really, what are we talking about? It's the same proton and electron. It's just they don't have any that middle force, because what's better in a family, the parent or the kid? Neither. They both complement each other. They
There's
make
there's no one without the other. There's literally
There's
no
no
meaning.
happiness
There's
without.
no parent
Yeah.
without a kid, and there's no kid without a parent. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
we still are isolating, identifying all of these things, and they're battling against each other. And when we find the way to bring them all together, um, and our goal is, of course, is to be able to do that uh, without war, without conflict, in a comfortable way, by just understanding first and foremost what's happening. People are always saying, "Well, okay, great, I agree. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" The first thing we do is calibrate our hearts and our minds to what nature's doing, and then after that, anything you do with your hands and your feet will be fine. Is the right thing to do, because we're already in the.
If we learn to revere, is revere a good verb? Is that a verb? Does that
Yeah,
work as
that's
a
right.
verb?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So if we learn to revere our interdependence, that's it. We've done everything. That's the biggest thing that needs to happen in human awareness in order for all of the other things to happen. It's not going to be, as soon as we start recognizing that, we're going to see, um, like I think you mentioned at some point earlier today, that we have enough food, we can feed everyone, we have technology, we can power uh, everyone's houses, to do what they need. We have an information system that enables us to communicate. We have everything we need. Nature is not creating any problems for us in terms of shortage. The only problem is that we don't know how to come to terms with the laws of interdependence so that we can receive all that abundance that nature has to offer us. All right. What do you say? You want to try a musical recap of the show, or you want to put a song for us? What do you what do you
I know
what do you
you'd be
say?
happier if we try the musical recap. Want to go for it?
I don't know, if you have a splitting headache, can you do it?
I have. Um,
You'll think about it. In the meantime, I'll read to you a list of places where uh, where this conversation is now echoing. All right, so we have friends in Quebec and Utah and Minnesota, Switzerland, Miami, Norway, India, Australia, Brazil, Netherlands, Colorado, Spain, Puerto Rico, and Egypt. And that is just so great to see. What do you say, man?
my head was bothering me. I wasn't writing good notes to come up with the
We also
chorus. So
have
yeah,
Finland. You can still regret we have
I'm already
Finland.
regretting it. But I'll fumble through it, but
Finland, Brooklyn, and Wales will also cheer for you, in addition to everyone else. Vermont as well is in the house.
all right. I'm gonna rip off my old one of the old melodies, chord progressions. Can you hear that? Okay.
Okay, I think so. Go closer with the, yeah.
How
I
about
think it's
this?
good. I think it works. Okay, so everybody, we've been trying this in one of the last few shows, and it was fun. So we're just gonna try it again. We're gonna try to
Okay, just Chris, send a message in the chat here if the levels are good between us.
yeah. So we can't really jam musically together on Zoom because there's a delay, but we can kind of summarize the show with some music. So the human being started so dependent on the sun and the rain and the wind. And everything in the human being's life thousands of years ago was dependent on nature, but we've lost that. And today, we find our food in the supermarket. We make ourselves warmer or cooler with our ACs at home, but we've lost what nature is to us and what we are for it. and and then
Okay,
comes my job's easier. I don't have to rhyme it.
Discovering the life we're in, we have everything we need. Na, 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 na. Come on, we got everything we need. Discover, getting beyond it. I don't know, man. It's rough with the headache. I can't
going.
think.
It's good. Keep going.
Okay. Take over.
Yes. So, for thousands of years, we've been developing into this globally interconnected village. But we have become so egoistic, so detached from those forces of nature, to the point that we think that we're in charge of everything. We're the bosses of this planet. And then comes COVID. And COVID reminds us that we're all tied up. We're tied to each other through invisible threads. And while this is so uncertain, it's actually a blessing in disguise, because we can find what's the true source of pleasure when we actually connect back with nature through connecting with each other.
Discover. Discovering the life we're in, we have everything we need. And getting past the BS, come back to what we need.
Yeah, come back to what we need. That's good.
To what we need. Discovering the life we're in, we have everything we need. Everything we need.
You've done it, man. Everybody, we will be here on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. This was an attempt to do a musical recap with a splitting headache. And we salute you, Seth. Everyone's happy for the efforts. We'll
Thanks,
see you.
everybody.
We'll see you Thursday.
Yes. See you Thursday.